Hey everybody, welcome back to The Loop, where we're spending a little bit of time each day this summer in the book of Psalms. My two favorite books in the Old Testament are the book of Proverbs and the book of Psalms. Now, the book of Proverbs is a book that I love because it helps me with the way that I think. But I love the book of Psalms because it helps me with the way that I feel. Today, as you start another week, I want to take you back to a psalm that I shared with you actually last Monday, but I want to focus on a completely different aspect of this same verse, an aspect that addresses the way we feel. The two verses are Psalm 37, verses 7 and 8, where the text says this: "Be still before the Lord and wait patiently for Him. Do not fret when people succeed in their ways, when they carry out their wicked schemes. Refrain from anger and turn from wrath. Do not fret. It only leads to evil." Two times in these two verses, David says, "Do not fret." But that's also the way that he starts the chapter all the way back in verse 1. It's the only phrase in this passage where David repeats himself multiple times, probably for emphasis. When he says it in verse 8, he adds that fretting only leads to evil or bad things in our lives. Now, this word fret means to be visibly worried or even anxious. And David says that when you live your life like that, with constant worry or anxiety, it only leads to bad things. Worry and anxiety can lead to a shortness of breath, a tightening in the chest. It can cause your eye to twitch, your blood pressure to rise. You can wake up with knots in your shoulders or in your neck, or you can even have an upset stomach. You can have trouble sleeping at all. And honestly, I think these things are only the beginning. I think constant worry and visible anxiety can lead to far worse things than this. In fact, Max Lucado once said this. He said, "Anxiety can twist us into an emotional pretzel." I love that picture. If that describes the way that you feel some days or even most days, I want to take you back to the things that David said throughout this chapter. He told the reader in verse 3, "Trust in the Lord and do good." So do good in all of the things that you can control, but trust God in everything else that you can't control. In verse 4, he said, "Take delight in the Lord, and He will give you the desires of your heart." Instead of living a life that's plagued with worry, find joy in the fact that God is in your corner today. Stop thinking about the size of your problems and start thinking instead about the size of your God. In verse 7, he said, "Be still before the Lord and wait patiently for Him." When I look at all of these verses, it's clear. Instead of buzzing around like a busy little bee trying to take care of everything on our own, God wants us to be still and to learn to depend on Him. So today, ask God to work in your situation. But even more than that, ask Him to teach you how to trust Him more so that you end up worrying less.